All right, welcome on in, everybody. I am SEC Hoops, joined here today by a handful of people. We're all just going to talk about the last, couple of days here in the conference. Been a really interesting couple of days for most of the teams. We're going to talk about a handful and then the conference as a whole. First of all, I think we're going to talk about Vanderbilt because they don't get very much spotlight. Um, Today they played Cal Berkeley to be exact. And really, I think they shined on the offensive end and they really proved their depth. Redmond, you want to talk about that at all?
Yeah, it was definitely a statement win for the Mark Byington era because from us Vanderbilt fans, we kind of had a perception going into this game that this could just be another non-conference loss, because under Jerry Stackhouse, it was a
Mhm.
habit of losing these types of games. Because I remember about 2 years ago, third game of the season, we lost to Virginia Commonwealth 48-37.
Oh yeah, I remember being at work trying to watch that. It was miserable.
Yeah, so it felt good for the team to come out and make a statement today, even if it's not a great Cal team. They took care of business, did what they needed to, and what really impressed me was Tyler Tanner. For
Absolutely.
Vanderbilt to get into that tournament contention, you got to have guys step up, and Tyler Tanner, a freshman, looking good so far. That really can raise the ceiling of a team.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Vanderbilt, like I said, really showed off their depth. Six guys scored six or more today. So when you have a team that can do that, especially with the offensive ability of Vanderbilt, and Byington's a really good coach, that could bode well for Vandy. Got a couple more things. Yeah, Tyler Tanner, three steals today through three SEC games. He's got 10 steals, or not SEC games, but regular season games. So he's really impressing. Just really fun to watch Vanderbilt, in my opinion.
And the guy I'd say has looked as Vandy's best player that has just came out of nowhere is Devin McLaughlin.
Yeah, he's from Boston College, correct?
Yeah.
And I think he was really overlooked. Probably he's leading the SEC in rebounds. I don't know how many he got today, but doing a phenomenal job so far.
Mhm.
Yeah, so Vanderbilt's been a lot of fun. I think they can compete for the tournament, but they're going to have to probably get some upsets in the SEC. We'll see how they do in the non-conference, which is not all that challenging.
What I'll say about when it comes to the tournament is can Vanderbilt knock down the 3-point shot and can they defend when they need to? That's the key because he had 18 steals tonight, but they were very aggressive on defense. But what's it going to look like when they have a game where those gambles don't go their way? Are they going to give up 90 points? Is the defense going to step up? That's kind of a concern that I have going into SEC play when they're going to face some really challenging offensive minded coaches. Like Kentucky's offense looked amazing last night. These
Second half in particular, we don't talk about the first half, right?
but you just got to prepare for those things because those gambles are not always gonna go your way.
No, like gambling, it's gambling, so it's really risky and usually it doesn't end well unless you have a smart gambler. So, but I like what I see from Vanderbilt so far. Struggle with SEMO a little bit, but that offense, if they can stay consistently, at least give up less than 70 a game, I think they'll be a real threat to possibly make the tournament. I think they're at worst an NIT team right now, so I'm really liking what I'm seeing from Vandy. Good stuff. All right, next up we got Arkansas, who they've been kind of up and down, I would say. For me, today they beat Troy, really dominated the second half. They figured things out. Down 1 point at halftime, ended up winning by 16. Zvonimir Visic had 19 points and 6 of 7 from three. Eric, what did you see from Arkansas today that, kind of stood out and things you might want to see worked on?
Yeah, we can read the box score. what we want here. I mean,
Yeah,
won the second half by 16 with only 7 players.
yeah,
Biggest thing that stood out here, didn't have either of our more physical centers.
sure.
Adu was not going to play this game, but once Brazil went out and Z had 2 fouls, he got thrown in there. Did not return. But yeah, the shooting started off 1 for 11, ended up shooting 43.5% from three. Most of that was Savon Visa, 6 for 7 from three.
Yeah, Vicious is his six threes a day tied how many he made in I think around 15 games for Kentucky last year. So that's a really good sign for Arkansas. I think we all knew he could hit the threes, but like that, that's really impressive. So good on him because they needed every single one of those. Really gave him a
Yeah.
lift.
For sure. The first half, I mean, they were getting shots, open
Mhm.
shots, just weren't falling.
Yeah, I couldn't watch till the second half, but really good second half for Arkansas. Adu Thiero as well, 19.7 rebounds, 53% from the field. I think his development from being basically the ninth man on Kentucky's team 3 years ago to now the guy for Arkansas. Just really, really great developmental job by John Calipari for Adu Thiero. So
For
it's
sure,
awesome.
big jump.
Most definitely. And then Boogie Fland as well, 12 and 7 assists, 2 of 3 from three. I think he's got to be consistently really good because, to be frank, DJ Wagner has not been great so far. I think he can pick it up, but Boogie Fland's picking up the slack at the point guard spot, and that's really what Arkansas needs.
Yeah, 7 assists, 2 straight games.
Yeah, great look for him. One thing I do want to talk about, Arkansas, they've kind of struggled. I know today they really got hot in the second half, but they did struggle. They have struggled against the zone defense, and I think part of that might be the overall team shooting. How do you think other teams are going to try and continue to guard Arkansas?
I mean, they can try in zone. I think there's definitely going to be some more teams. Baylor's not going to be the only team to try it
Yeah,
this year. I think with a healthy lineup, John L. Davis, if DJ Wagner can just be minimally productive and consistent,
sure.
and Carter Knox can get his rhythm, it's going to be hard to zone this team, especially if they can get an Adu or a Z to come in there and run the high post and hit that backside cutter over and over and hit shots. They'll get out of it easily.
Sure. I can definitely see it with Arkansas. They've got the capable shooters. Question is, if they're going to get out of that slump.
Mm.
I think
Yeah,
you
gotta
saw
make
a little bit
shots.
today. I will say the defense is tenfold better than last season for Coach Cal. Last year, 119th in Ken Palm. This year, I mean, holding Troy to 49. I know Troy, I'm pretty sure they're a slower paced team, but you still help hold a college basketball team to 49 points. You got to have good defense if you're doing that. So, like, they just look more alert defensively, way more than Kentucky did last year. So, it's a great sign.
Yeah, for sure. Especially we were gassed in the second half.
Mhm.
Bad. We didn't have any Adu Thiero. He's like really our own main rebounder. We actually got out rebounded second half. Didn't have Adu or Brazil. Still held them to 49.
I
They only
didn't
had
end up
20,
seeing what
22
happened
in the
with
third.
Brazil. Yeah.
Yeah, he had a nasty ankle roll. I don't think he's going to be
Mm.
back for at least 2 weeks anyway.
Oh, wow.
It was a severe sprain
That's too bad. He's a really good athlete. That's a tough loss.
for sure.
But Arkansas, I think if they can figure it out from three, they're going to be totally fine. But these I wouldn't quite call this a struggle game, but they did struggle down first in down one at the start of the second half. But like if they can figure out what they're doing offensively, they will be tough to stop. So
Yeah, I really feel like this is a team. If Wagner can get going and in his rhythm, I think like as good as he is, that's how far we can go.
definitely. Next up, we got Kentucky, and anybody can chime in, by the way. I meant to say that from the start. Next up, we have Kentucky. Yesterday, they played Duke in a game that, quite frankly, I don't think many people expected them to win. Um, really they got dominated in the first half. They didn't look like they had much of a not quite an identity, but they were completely shut down in the first half, and they figured out what they needed to do. I think the adjustments Mark Pope made were really vital. Um, and how about Andrew Carr doing what he did? 17 points, probably most of those in the second half. What'd you guys see from Kentucky that really stood out?
What I'll say is Kentucky, like I was kind of expecting like Duke to eventually just make that one play where just silences Kentucky. It's over.
Sure.
But Kentucky just kept making play after play after play, which led to them winning the ball game. And it wasn't a fluke either. Kentucky was just playing smart, well-coached basketball.
Sure.
That's not a fluke. It was a overall impressive performance by Kentucky that led to them winning a basketball game against a very good Duke team.
No.
I think what Kentucky did on the defense end is just insane. They held Duke to 17% the 3-point line and under 40% from the field, and then by themselves shot 40% from three and 40% from the field. So I feel like it was just an all around great game from Kentucky, especially in the second half. You know, they outscored Duke by 14. You saw Kentucky get it to within four multiple times and just felt like Duke just kept extending that lead. Didn't know if Kentucky was going to be able to overcome that deficit, but they did, and they ended up winning a big time ball game.
Yeah, definitely. I think what we saw from Pope, I think you can kind of, it's just a one game sample size, but the adjustments he made to really put more ball pressure on the Blue Devils, and then um, just all the different little intangible things he did, little tweaks in the game. I know we like to make fun of that word tweak, but that's what he did. And I mean, if anything, this kind of proved that Mark Pope is here and he's here to stay, at least for the time being, because that's a major win, second best in the SEC right now. So really impressive.
Yeah, I also just want to point out this is the starters for Duke. This is their 3-point attempts and how many they made. Cooper Flag went 1 for 5. Kneppel, however you say his last name, went 1 for 8.
Yeah.
Proctor went 2 for 5, and Foster went 0 for 4. So they just weren't able to do anything on the perimeter, and so I feel like that's a really big reason why Kentucky was able to win.
Yeah, I think they got a handful of decent looks, especially Caleb Foster. There was a moment where he had two wide open looks back to back, got his own rebound, bricked them both times, and that would have been a momentum killer for Kentucky. Duke did not, they did not have that killer instinct in them that wins a lot of ball games. They just couldn't close the door on Kentucky. And I think the whole second half, Kentucky wore Duke down with their depth. We saw that Shire, he completely forgot he has a point guard on his team. The last, I want to say 5, 6 minutes, only wanted to go to Cooper Flag, and it really costed them big time.
One thing I'll say is Kentucky's body language with Pope as the head coach was really good because when you go to half, things aren't going your way. It's possibly looking like you're going to get your butt kicked.
Right.
The team, they did not look like they missed a beat at all. It did not phase them. They believed, even when they were down, that they were going to win that basketball game. And you could see it when in the timeouts, when they were in the huddle with Pope, just how much they were listening to him, how much he was reaching them, and they executed about everything he wanted them to do in the second half, and it led to a win.
Yeah, I mean, really some great stuff from Kentucky. Just the resilience. You saw that resolve. I think every single player stepped up in some form or fashion. I want to talk about Otega Owe coming up huge defensively and then really having an efficient off. Well, he was not efficient from two. I think he was 2 of 7, but he made two of his three attempts. And really, he was the MVP of the game, had pretty much the game winning steal with about like 25 seconds left or something. Um,
and hit both free throws with.
Yes.
Not a foul, by the way.
All right. That's debatable, but I think
Yeah, that's not debatable. The foul call, it's not a foul. I do not care. That is not a foul. That's all I got to say. That is not a foul.
all right, man. Well, away trip for
Perfect
some
time for
reason.
Caden.
I love how Caden immediately jumps in like this. But no, it
Yeah, got
was
to. First words I hear.
yeah.
Got to.
All right. Well, Kentucky just really they showed that resolve and just kept coming at Duke in waves, and it was really impressive. Looks like we got 10 minutes left in this. I didn't realize there's a time limit if I don't have pro, so let's just run through the rest of this. We'll talk about Todd Golden's situation real quick.
Yeah, perfect.
I think everybody knows by now he's been
Lock him
accused.
up.
Exactly. He's been accused of sexual assault. Just some sicko stuff.
He didn't. He ain't do nothing wrong. Don't care. You ever been to Gainesville? You been on that campus? Some you'll ever see in your life.
Yeah, but I
I don't blame him personally. That's
All
just
right,
me
man.
though.
don't blame him.
I have to edge that out.
I had to mute him real quick. I knew it would happen, but just a crazy
He lasted 2
situation.
minutes.
What's that?
Caden lasted 2 minutes. Yeah, give him
Yep.
that.
What I'll say about the Todd Golden shit.
I lasted longer than I thought I would. Just saying.
What I'll say about the Todd Golden situation is definitely a bad one, obviously, but we'll see what comes out of it. If it's true, then get him out of there, and if it's false, Todd Golden will
I
continue.
mean, Florida's definitely going to do everything in their power to keep him as head coach.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like
Sweep it under the rug. That's all I got to say. Bring Thug you back.
my question is, what? I don't think it'll affect Florida on the court all that much. But if Golden is suspended or anything, I don't know if he will be. But I wonder how that affects Florida because who do you think would take over as assistant if Golden is canned, which I don't think will happen. But Caden, what do you think?
3-1 favorite.
Well, I barely know who half of our coaches are, but
Okay.
yeah.
All right, bro.
That's my goat, Reese Wilson, right there. What are you talking about?
Caden, how drunk are you right now?
It's pretty bad.
I think this podcast ended after we finished talking about Kentucky.
Yeah.
It's
So
a good topic.
I think got a couple more things here. We'll wrap this up pretty quickly. My next thing I want to talk about is Auburn, Alabama, Kentucky, and Tennessee, and then who do you guys think steps up outside of that? For
Florida. Next question.
Florida. I like that answer. I think,
Arkansas, obviously.
yeah.
Florida, Arkansas. Who
South
else?
Carolina.
Okay. South
They're
Carolina.
dead last. It's a shit off between them and Vandy. What do we do?
Hey, Vandy's looking pretty good right now, I will say. I think maybe
They had to
LSU.
shoot 40. They had
I'm
to
not
shoot 40 free throws to beat Southeastern Mississippi. Like, what is we talking about? Barely won by 10 at that.
They did shoot at least 30 more free throws that game.
Yeah. SEMO had like 11.
All right, well, I think that settles that. Next, could the SEC rival the Big 12 this season in terms of, the Big 12's got the top five teams in their conference are all top 10. Well, Baylor fell to 12. But I think you got Alabama, Auburn, Kentucky, Tennessee right now, and then one or both of Arkansas and Florida could really rival to be just as good or better than the Big 12. Um,
Bring back the Big 12 challenge.
that would have been fantastic this year
Would have been great.
because the ACC,
ACC
as,
is.
as good as they've been in the postseason, like
It
the
is.
regular season ACC has been terrible. I mean, at least since
I mean,
2019.
Tennessee plays Syracuse. They're going to beat Syracuse by 15 points.
I mean, it was time to move on. We were getting hoed by the Big 12 refs every fucking game.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
I do think it would have been because, this year the ACC, it's Duke, North Carolina, and then, Wake Forest, they'll probably be solid. And then it's, who else they got? Virginia, they're not.
Play at Miami.
It's three teams.
Tennessee plays
Yeah.
Tony Bennett gone. There's nothing there with
I
Virginia.
agree. I agree because here are some possible matchups that would have taken place in the SEC Big 12 Challenge this year. I'm just going to kind of run down, in order of rank. Alabama, Kansas would have been a fantastic game, regardless of where it's at.
Well, we already beat Kansas.
Exactly. And then Auburn and Houston already played. Auburn won a barn burner of a game. Like that was a mammoth, fun game to watch. Kentucky,
Florida
Iowa State.
Baylor probably would have been the matchup.
What was it? Sorry.
Florida Baylor would have probably been the matchup for
Yeah,
Baylor at least.
I agree. They played last year too. That was a fun game. And then I had Kentucky and Iowa State, and then Tennessee and Arizona. Tennessee, Arizona would have been the Tobe Awaka Bowl.
Oh, dude. I would have gone to the Tennessee Arizona game just to cuss Tobe Awaka out.
Right?
Oh,
I thought it was a little surprising he left personally.
whenever Lee Dort was
Screw on.
the Vandy student section was chanting "Lock him up."
I think I remember that, yeah.
I-
All right, we got like 3.5 minutes left. Only
We
got a couple-
forgot to mention the Texas A&M UCF game.
Yeah.
UCF, Texas A&M. Texas A&M is very mid.
Texas A&M,
Very
just
Buzz Williams
last year, they just can't hit
regular
shots.
season. Buzz Williams regular season. Basically,
Okay. Thank you, Caden.
They're just a worse version of Arkansas right now.
I can see that. Next up, I think there are, but the question is, are there legitimate title threats in the SEC and who would they be? I think Alabama and Auburn are the clear front runners.
I think any
And then you can go
I think Arkansas. Me
Arkansas. I
personally.
got you.
I think any of the top
That
four.
healthy Arkansas is something to watch out for.
I think South Carolina could be up there too. Dash
Right
Jackson
there,
Hall.
I mean, Lamont Paris, he's their
Lamar
guy.
Paris,
Just got the
he's
big.
he's better than Coach K ever was.
I mean, he put the
Really?
thing.
Okay.
Greatest coach to ever step on a court.
All right. And lastly, who do you think wins the SEC regular season this year? Right
Auburn.
now, I'm leaning Auburn right now.
Auburn.
All right, I'm leaning Vanderbilt personally. That's
Oh,
Hey,
yeah.
remember, I put Auburn 1.
You did?
Didn't I put Auburn 1?
I think so.
Preseason.
I think I
Or,
put
no,
Alabama
I did
one.
Arkansas, but it was really Auburn. I had Auburn like 2 behind Arkansas.
Okay.
I got Alabama.
Yeah, I could go either way
I
with
just-
Auburn, Alabama.
I think
I got to be different.
I
Everyone
see
else is saying
Alabama.
Auburn, so I got Bama.
I just need to see Alabama be able to play competent basketball.
That was something. All right, I gotta
I
end.
thought his cock was out.
No, it's just my remote.
All right, well, thank you guys for all tuning in. Thank you guys for joining. This was an interesting final 10 minutes, but really good stuff.
Yeah, highlight of my life.
Thank you all for tuning in.
I hate mine. That's-
And everybody have a great night. Thank you so much.